I'm at the point of no return. I'm at that point.
To squash this, I want to apologize to all of them because I know this was embarrassing for all.
The internet is spinning again, y'all. Dame Dash says unity. Harlem hears apology. Camron says point of no return. And Twitter says cap. Tonight, we're breaking it all down and stress testing that so-called olive branch. We're putting Dame's peace plea side by side with the laughter, the history, and the paperwork to see if this truce is real, or just another performance in the Harlem soap opera. Because here's the truth. If this apology lines up with the receipts, the timelines, and the respect, it reads like growth and leadership. But if it doesn't, then it's looking like surrender disguised as wisdom. Stay tuned, because we're letting the quotes, contracts, and body language do the talking tonight.
I want to apologize to all of them because I know this was embarrassing for all. And I can't be violent, and I won't be violent. My job is to keep them out of jail. So the only way I can deal with things is keep certain things out of the algorithm. Just to answer as soon as somebody says something. If y'all want to sit down and work it out and maybe do a TV show together, just showing the world that we can work together.
You guys believe the internet? You guys are adults that believe what you read and hear in the newspaper. You guys are talking about things with no research. That's not fair. Actually, I want to keep it on.
This time, Dame isn't pulling up with smoke or podium shots. Nah, he's talking like a man who's seen empires rise and crumble. A boardroom elder, not a street rival. And right out the gate, he says the quiet part out loud. Embarrassing to Harlem. That one line reframed the whole feud, not as personal drama, but as a brand issue that's gotten out of control. It's smart PR, sharp self-awareness, and a reminder that even in beef, Harlem's reputation is still big business. The optics? Awful. Dame's offer, though, surprisingly specific. He's saying, stop feeding the algorithm. Let's sit down, off camera, and then come back on camera with something real. Basically, he's proposing a reset. A deal where Harlem can show the world that black unity travels farther than petty clips. But of course, the risk is huge. Because in today's world, apologies get turned into memes faster than contracts get signed. The second clip from Dame lays out why this whole truce is so fragile. If fans buy into the rumors, the olive branch looks like retreat. But if they believe the receipts, it starts looking like leadership. And that's exactly where Dame says the shift needs to happen. From comments to deliverables. He's not just talking peace, he's talking business structure. He's laying out the blueprint for how any potential paid-in-full spin-off could even exist. From the underlying rights to the life rights, soundtrack clearances, brand likeness approvals, and most importantly, who actually owns the keys. Because at the end of the day, if Dame really wants Harlem's trust back, it's not about motivational quotes, it's about signatures, paperwork, and action. He needs a neutral executive producer, a clear rights clearance map, and a production timeline that can actually move. But here's the thing. Every sentence about patience is fighting against someone else's punchline. The internet doesn't wait. And the culture grades on code. Don't drag family into beef, don't embarrass Harlem, and definitely don't turn private pain into public profit. One wrong move, and the whole unity campaign flips into another trending headline. Dame's message hits right where the nerves still twitch. Because let's be real, if Camron keeps saying point of no return, and 50 Cent keeps selling confidence like it's the next blockbuster trailer, then unity starts looking like weakness unless there's paperwork to prove otherwise. It all boils down to one test. Can Dame really flip embarrassing to Harlem into profitable for Harlem and actually put it in writing?
I'm at the point of no return. This was totally unnecessary. The way it went about for me, you keep going on the internet looking for internet sympathy.
It don't matter if you win or lose. Swing on them. That's my hitter. I feel I could beat them with a little lesbian, white girl. I just want to see if we can do it for fun. Let's go battle Cam and 50 because 50 stepped into the conversation.
But standing in his way are two massive bricks blocking the olive branch. Brick 1, Cam's boundary. He's not arguing about contracts or ownership at this point. He's saying trust is gone. When Cam labels it point of no return, he's not being dramatic. He's setting policy. He's turning laughter into law, making it clear that while things might be cordial, there's no partnership coming out of this. Brick 2, the trolling economy. Dame's own bravado clip, the one where he said, "We can beat 50 and Cam." That's pure jet fuel for the internet. Every time he says something like that, it turns what could have been principle into a pivot for clicks. It makes sincerity look like spin. So the question becomes, how do you fight mockery with time and paper? Because if 50's flexing is just momentum, it fades fast. But if his confidence is backed by options, rights, or a real production deal, then that laugh suddenly carries leverage. And that's where the real game is. Not on Instagram lives or interviews, but in contracts, clearances, and control. If Dame can't balance that, Harlem unity might stay stuck as just another viral headline. All talk, no trademarks. Meanwhile, Cam's boundary isn't something you fix with contracts alone. It needs a full-on code repair. The apology might be loud, but Harlem moves by unspoken rules. No family mentions, no rumor recycling, no fresh ammo. That's the only way this truce even stands a chance. From here on, it's all about stacking receipts, not sound bites.
Did you own Paid in Full? Like, how did 50 Cent acquire ownership of Paid in Full?
Do you remember when 50 Cent was supposed to be putting out a documentary about Puff on Netflix?
Yes.
That brings us to the next chapter. What owning Paid in Full actually means versus what it sounds like. Because in film and TV, that one word, owns, splits into multiple lanes of legal territory. And that's exactly where Dame's whole cap call is being tested. One of those lanes might let you talk, but having several lanes, that's what lets you build. And when you control all the lanes, that's when you can actually deliver. That's why this Prove It challenge matters more than any viral clip. It separates what's real from what's rhetoric. So let's line up the claims side by side. On one hand, you've got 50 Cent moving like a full-on production rollout, bold captions, Harlem cosigns, that confident energy of a project already greenlit. On the other hand, you've got Dame Dash, answering the hard questions straight into a hot mic. Did he ever truly own what everyone now wants to expand? And if not, how could anyone else have acquired ownership in 2025 without him? The real answer lives in the fine print. Options, assignments, shopping agreements, and the subtle but critical line between based on and authorized by. Anyone who's ever tried to clear a docu-series knows this game. The internet can crown you the winner long before legal clears a single frame. And here's the real tell. When the right story is clean, the execs brag about it publicly. But when it's messy, everyone suddenly starts talking like a visionary while the lawyers work quietly in the background. That's exactly why Dame's olive branch might not be soft at all. It might be strategic. Because the best move now isn't to clap back. It's to sit down, on camera or off, and walk Harlem through a grown man conversation about business, ownership, and legacy. The real questions cutting through the noise right now are the ones that lawyers, not bloggers, care about. Who actually wrote the original Paid in Full screenplay? Who controls the remake and sequel rights today? Can the title even be used as is? Has anyone secured life rights from the surviving figures? And how would the music, visuals, and logos be licensed? Because if those answers are tight and verified, then 50 Cent wins, both in perception and paper. But if the paperwork turns out messy, then the word cap stops being an insult and starts sounding like a diagnosis. That's when reputation starts costing money.
From Paid in Full? The thing there is I was there. I don't have to buy rights for my own story. I already told those guys' story. Now I'm telling my story, my Paid in Full. I don't have to buy the rights.
But there's also a third path, one that people keep overlooking: coexistence. It's completely possible to build a new series inspired by the same real-life Harlem legends without touching any of the legally protected material from the original movie. That would make it a different product with a different promise. Same spirit, new vision. That kind of move could actually work if the audience believes the new creative team has access to the real people and the raw detail that made the first story feel authentic. And that brings us right back to the olive branch. If Dame is really serious about unity, then the smartest play isn't a quote or a post. It's to move the debate from captions to contracts. Because in Harlem, nothing says leadership like receipts you can repeat without embarrassment. Dates, signatures, deliverables, those are the new talking points. That's how you make the laughs expensive. And there's one more reason to slow the timeline down: consequences. A loose "we own it" claim can sour relationships with estates, unions, and rights holders, people you might need down the line when it's time to clear footage or strike deals. And on the flip side, throwing around a sloppy "they're capping" accusation could turn into a defamation problem if you guess wrong in public. At this point, every move is a paper trail. Every headline has legal weight. And in a world where perception equals profit, the smartest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one whose contracts match their confidence. The smart version of this Harlem showdown isn't flashy. It's boring to watch, but beautiful to count. It's not about shouting matches or viral clips. It's about a clean chain of title, a calendar of deliverables, and 3 grown men who finally realize that Harlem wins biggest when nobody has to lose. That's the version that never trends, but it's the only one that pays out long term.
I've been paying $250,000 a year in child support. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm broke? Yeah, I'm broke because I give it all to my family. Don't you understand?
But let's be honest. There's one thing that distorts every conversation faster than pride: money optics. The way people talk about cash has turned everything into a meme. The Breakfast Club made it viral sport. Chopped up sound bites, half-context numbers, and paperwork twisted into personality. Suddenly, bankruptcy isn't seen as a financial tool. It's treated like a confession. And that's the trap Dame Dash keeps trying to pull the camera away from, to shift the focus back to responsibility over reputation. Because fatherhood costs money, litigation costs money, and restructuring isn't failure. It's how a business survives long enough to fight another day. But none of that nuance matters when the only metric the internet respects is humiliation. That's the exact gap the trolls exploit, and no one has weaponized it better than 50 Cent. He's built a second career out of perfectly timed humiliation, the art of dropping a 7-word caption that travels farther than a 40-page contract ever could. It's precision trolling, the kind that flips financial reality into entertainment. And the sad part? The algorithm rewards it every time. The louder the laugh, the deeper the misunderstanding. But for Harlem, and for the culture, the real victory won't come from who lands the next viral punch. It'll come from who owns their story on paper, not just online. From yesterday into today, the conversation's shifted. Now everyone's asking the same thing. If the apology was real, will it age into partnership, or at least peace? Because that's the real test. Harlem doesn't measure unity by who talks louder. It measures by what survives the noise.
And now I say what I say, and then my son calls me and says, Cam gave him some money to do an interview on his show. And that really bothered me because Cam knows, he known Boogie since he was born. He knows our relationship, the reasons for certain things. That would have really damaged our relationship. It would have fucked up.
That's the Harlem Codebook talking. In that culture, a public back and forth is already a loss. Camron marked the moment when he said, "Point of no return." That phrase wasn't legal. It was cultural. It meant the boundary wasn't crossed on paper. It was crossed in principle. Private friendship turned into public content, and a personal boundary became a public dare. Once that happens, words alone can't fix it. An apology can't just soften the tone. It has to repair the code. And that's exactly what Dame Dash's olive branch is trying to do. By saying embarrassing to Harlem, he wasn't just admitting fault, he was addressing the borough directly. That's a strategic move because Harlem's rules are bigger than both men. The code is simple: no family, no circus, no staining the block for clicks. You violate that, and the only way back is to over-respect the code in public. That means fewer captions, more structure. Sit down off camera, then come back on camera with a clear statement of terms and a deliverable that makes Harlem look stronger than the argument. That's how grown men turn headlines into healing.
I'm at the point of no return. I'm at that point because for me, it was totally unnecessary. The way it went about, for me, it didn't have to be public. It didn't have to be all this. All I said, I hate repeating how this started. I didn't pick the phone up. All I did was not pick the phone up, and you keep going on the internet looking for internet sympathy like he's doing now.
And while the fans got popcorn, Dame's trying to reframe the same wound from the elders' perspective. He's thinking about the kids watching, the young ones learning from how OGs handle friction. Because once Harlem's youth start laughing instead of listening, the culture loses twice. Everyone's waiting for Dame to slip back into the meme economy, to let the apology turn into entertainment. But that's exactly why this moment feels different. This isn't about losing an argument, it's about refusing to keep feeding one. The real power move isn't another viral post, it's the discipline to walk away from it. If the goal is to stop embarrassing Harlem, then the answer's simple. Stop giving the algorithm cheap Harlem. If Dame can pull that off, unity won't just be a headline, it'll be history. At the end of the day, the real politics are simple and brutal. The first man to shut down the circus always looks like the leader, but only if the paperwork and the principles line up behind him. If they don't, that silence doesn't read like maturity, it reads like surrender. And when that happens, the loudest caption ends up winning the election.
That's not the ideals that I want him to be. That's not the message. And that bothered me. It was embarrassing in that way. Like, damn, my OGness, my teaching is wrong. What's wrong with this nigga? But I'm like, I don't know why he's doing it. And then I was gonna respond, but I was like, that's what everybody wants to see. Like 50 and Steve Stout, they're hypocrisy.
Welcome to the internet court, where evidence is optional and confidence is king. Here, if you sound like a green light, you are one. At least until the lawyers show up with the real receipts. That's exactly how 50 Cent wins so many rounds without flashing a single signature. He's mastered the art of selling inevitability. He doesn't just move first, he makes you believe he already won. And that's how apologies get flipped into punchlines. Because if the crowd buys the rumor before the paperwork drops, the grown man move starts looking like a white flag. The only antidote: move slower than a caption, but faster than a rumor. That means putting facts in formats that don't clip well. Deal memos, verified documents, clean chains of title, and dated milestones. And once those are in place, you go quiet until the next milestone hits. Because memes die when they've got nothing left to eat but progress. But the moment you toss them a boast or a teaser, they'll feast for a week.
This is the thing. You guys believe the internet. You guys are adults that believe what you read and hear in the newspaper, and y'all talk the most. So you guys are talking about things with no research. That's not fair. See, the problem is, and this is actually, I'm going to keep it on you.
So my question, could you cut me off? Question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So my question
You
is,
cut him off too, Dame.
Even Dame knows the system. He calls out the joke machine while joking, and that's the trap of internet court. The second you try to steer the narrative, you end up feeding the very thing you're trying to starve. The fix isn't a sharper clapback. It's boring excellence. The kind that doesn't trend, but triumphs quietly. It's all about dates, deals, and deliverables. That's what wins in the long run. When you have documentation instead of declarations, the timeline can't twist it, and the trolls can't remix it. That's the real blueprint heading into the finish line. Not louder posts, not longer rants, but measurable progress that can't be screenshotted into shame. Because at the end of it all, the internet forgets captions, but it never forgets contracts. At this stage, the rules are crystal clear. Policy, not posture. No family names, no rumor recycling, no new meme ammo. Proof, not vibes. If 50's claim is real, then paper it publicly. If Dame's cap call is solid, then walk Harlem through the grit. Show what's cleared, what isn't, and why. The era of flexing is over. This is the age of evidence. The next move shouldn't be a post. It should be a product. Announce something the internet can't argue with. A table read on the calendar, clearances locked in, and a neutral executive producer co-signing that actually means something to the borough. Because when the internet becomes judge and jury, the only appeal is delivery. Every new milestone makes old laugh tracks sound like reruns. That's how you silence the noise, not with hashtags, but with results.
I didn't mean to make a funny joke to guys that make jokes all day.
I would have asked you about a comment you made in our last interview about imaginary player. You made a comment about how he was taking shots at Mase, but you also said that he was taking some shots at some other rappers. Do you recall the other rappers he was taking shots at?
It was like whoever was out at that time, it was everybody. Everybody was putting, not fake diamonds, but they were putting, Rolex didn't make them, because that's what Jacob was doing. Because only dudes know how much watches really cost. And all the billionaires I know, they wear these. And I need mine because I got my blood sugar on.
Still, there's one obstacle no contract can bulldoze: personal policy. Cam's boundary was never just about legal lanes. It's about how a friend handled a friend in public. That's the wound. You can't heal that with a business plan. You heal it with private repair. Before any rollout, before any reunion, there has to be a room, an apology, and a decision. No captions, no cameras, no leaks, just conversation. If Dame wants peace to be seen as strength, he has to remember one truth: men do, memes don't. The follow-through can't live in a comment section. It has to live on paper, in timelines, and in real deliverables Harlem can be proud of. That right there, that's the grown man pivot. The real move isn't about posting captions or firing off subliminals. It's about taking the fight off Instagram and putting it onto signature lines. If the answers come back clean, then everybody saves face. 50 keeps his momentum, Cam keeps his code, and Dame proves the olive branch wasn't a white flag. It was a workflow. If that's where Dame lands, business over banter. Then the last question left is simple. Do the other two want to win bigger than a laugh? Because the truth is, viral moments fade fast, but premiere dates don't. The day Dame puts that olive branch on camera, not as a speech, but as a production plan, Harlem will finally get to judge him by what he ships next, not by what got clipped last. Cam already drew his boundary, a line that no contract can cross. 50 smirked his way through it, selling momentum like it was already papered. And here we are again, watching the same loop, apology versus algorithm. The only twist that could make this ending different is one word: delivery. If the next time we hear about this, it's because a clearance grid is locked and a table read is officially scheduled, then guess what? The laugh track dies on its own. Harlem gets quiet. Respect replaces ridicule. But if that doesn't happen, if the noise keeps outpacing the paperwork, then the timeline wins again, feeding on the rerun. So here's the final bet. 3 men who built empires once already have the tools to build one more thing: silence when it's time to work. Harlem doesn't need another quote. It needs a date to circle, a project to believe in, something that proves the unity talk isn't just nostalgia dressed up as news. Because at the end of it all, Harlem will believe unity the day it's stamped on a production schedule, not a post. Until then, the culture's stuck watching reruns. Same names, same noise, different year. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you on the next one.